welcome back to Consider This. Melisa and Hafiz here with you tonight. Now, what was supposed to be a relatively straightforward win for Parti Warisan Sabah, which is according to a survey done by Ilham Centre, had turned into a comfortable victory for Barisan Nasional instead in Kimanis. Now, what went wrong for Pakatan Harapan and Warisan? To discuss this further, we have joining us on the line Associate Professor Hamidin Hamid, Senior Fellow at Ilham Centre. Hamidin, thank you so much for joining us tonight. Now, I want to point out that it's really worth noting that Ilham Centre correctly predicted a comfortable win for Barisan Nasional in the previous Tanjung Piai by-elections. This was last year in November. But this time, you guys were really off the mark in projecting a victory for Warisan. So, Hamidin, what happened? What did you miss in this by-election?
Thank you, Melisa, for having me tonight. I think when it comes to Kimanis, we noticed there is a lot of changes in the last couple of days of campaigning, but we produced our report for the media 3 days before the voting days. But at the same time, we do notice there is a lot of new momentum in regard to the campaigning by the Barisan Nasional particularly that we believe will influence the result. However, in regard to our report, we noticed in the beginning our variables looking at certain issues that we think that will give advantage to the Warisan as a ruling party. We noticed that the campaign was well accepted. Some of the issues were taken care, especially the local issues by the Warisan in Kimanis. Even though in the first first 10 days of the campaign, we noticed the PSS issues becoming a kind of snowball impact on the campaign. So I think our trajectory. We notice there is a variable that is important, and we notice that, but I think we underestimate the tractions when it comes to the PSS, and also the tractions when it comes to the role of big man, the role of warlord in Sabah politics.
So Hamidin, I mean, looking at this by-election victory by Barisan, so what did Barisan Nasional got right, and what did Warisan got wrong in this by-election campaign?
I think looking at what's going right to Barisan in regard to campaign strategy in Kimanis is very much the issues that they played. They really managed to manipulate the issues of PSS in regard to security, in regard to threat of socio-economic to the citizen of Sabah. I think they really managed to do that. So, meaning they not only talking about politics, but they're talking about. They managed to touch the sentiment of the people in regard to the problems vis-a-vis with immigrant and undocumented immigrant. I think for the Warisan, they underestimate the importance of PSS, the importance of psychologically the psychic of the voters in regard to that issues. I think that's why in the beginning they're looking at more strategically. They're looking at kind of continuity as a legacy issues. PSS is a legacy from the Barisan Nasional and what they have to continue to do that. But I think that's the first mistake of Warisan in regard to Kimanis, in regard to PSS, is very much underestimate the importance of the issues to the people.
So, Hamidin, what do you reckon will happen to PSS now? I mean, what do you expect to happen to this initiative?
I think personally, and then when we do our survey, we did couple of questions actually, 3 questions specifically in regard to PSS. And we noticed most of the correspondents have no idea or not have a fully understand what is PSS is all about. And in most of them, the decisions or the perception is on regard to PSS is very much not based on facts of the matters. I think PSS is a good policy where they want to centralize the issues of undocumented migrant, and I think they should continue with that because now there is 3 agencies that are producing cards for the migrants in Sabah. I think that we should continue with that, but the challenge for the state is really to make people understand. And here like the issue. I think the issues is the issues of trust. I think we notice in Kimanis, where the Barisan, the state government and also the federal government have to build the trust of the people that the matters is really about to safeguard the citizenship of the people and to solve the issues of undocumented migrants. I think that is the biggest challenge that's going to be faced by Warisan government in Sabah, to build the trust with the people in regard to the PSS.
So Hamidin, with regards to this loss, so what does this result mean for Warisan at the state level, and also what does it mean for the Pakatan Harapan government as a whole at the federal level?
I think when we see how we approach the matters for Ilham in the beginning, we notice that the importance of Kimanis is very much to give a clear picture for Warisan that they are in control of the political fraction in Sabah, particularly in control of the big men in Sabah politics. I think for followers of Sabah politics, we notice that Sabah politics very much characterized by big men role or warlord in Sabah. So we thought that Kimanis is very much a success for Shafi'i Abdul, the Chief Minister, having control of that group. But it seems from the data that we have, things happen in contrast for that. Seem that the personality, the big men are still there. So looking forward, I think the biggest challenge, Sabah politics will continue to be volatile. I think to really get in control of the fractions, the warlord in this area is going to be a big challenge politically. But in regard to that, when we do our survey, we also notice that some of the people are quite happy or satisfied with the current administration of Warisan government in Sabah, administratively speaking. So that is kind of a good plus point for PH government in Sabah.
Okay. Well, you know, there were some pundits, some political observers who said that the Sarawak government will be looking at the Kimanis by-elections in Sabah as a barometer or a gauge of the sentiment there, and that could impact when the Sarawak government will choose to call for elections within the territory. Now, I'm just wondering, how do you see this result impacting the Sarawak elections?
Oh yeah, definitely, Melisa. When we see in Kimanis, for example, even though some pundits want to play the role of national issues and other, but we see it's almost absent in Kimanis. For example, the issues have been mostly debated in Semenanjung. For example, the issues of Pakatan Nasional is almost absent even in the campaign in Kimanis. Nobody even mentioned about Pakatan Nasional in Sabah. So, in my point of view, one good learning lesson for Sarawak government in regard to Kimanis is very much how for them to tackle local issues. I think that what matters most, especially in regard to the state election, because the focus will be very much on the local matters. I think that is give a very big advantage for Sarawak government to really study what happened in Kimanis.
Okay.
All right. Extending from that, Hamidin, from this result, are you reading the defeat as a voter's anger towards Pakatan or a genuine support for BN? Because as you can see, this is BN's fifth victory in a by-election, which puts them on square 5 and 5 for BN and 5 for Pakatan. Yep. Is the tide changing for BN?
I don't think so. Actually, I don't think the result kind of give to both of your assumption, Hafiz. I think I don't think it's a totally rejection of the Warisan. I think, and also it's not kind of give a good support to Barisan Nasional, because what we notice, for example, in Sabah, as I mentioned just now, the role of warlord, the role of big men is very crucial. For example, in Sabah, the role of Aman family in the east is very powerful. In fact, some of the data that we get now revealing that there is a contestation between the east and the west Sabah when it comes to Kimanis, for example. That's one thing. So, in my point of view, it's not so much that it's kind of a revivalism of UMNO or Barisan Nasional with the win in Kimanis. I don't think so also. I think everybody knows that in Sabah, leaders come and go and they can switch party at any time as they wanted. And above all, the followers follow them. I think this is something that unique in Sabah situation. So, in my point of view, the current situation is very much a very much localized. The issues is very much localized to Sabah, not so much the rejection of the PH government. It's very much contestation between the big men and also the main issues of PSS. I think that's two, for me, that's very much colored the result in Kimanis.
Well, there was another thing that I was quite curious about, Hamidin. Voter turnout was the highest of the 10 by-elections we've had since Pakatan Harapan won GE14. I think it was about 80% voter turnout.
Yeah.
I'm just wondering what your read on this is. Why was voter turnout so high?
I think if you look at the last general elections, Melisa, for example, that Kimanis have 86% turnout. So normally in Sabah politics, machinery work very, very well. Where the machinery of the party that involved, they managed to bring the voters to the postal areas. I think this is something that really much characterize Sabah politics, especially in the East Coast, in the East Malaysian politics. So where they really work and bring in the voters because of the geographical conditions, and then also because of the social structure, where the head of the families, the head of the always play a big role, active role in encouraging and bring the voters to the voting areas. So I think when it comes to vote, yes, it's high compared to others, but if we look at Sabah politics for us, we are not surprised. We do estimate, for example, for Ilham, we do estimate around 78 to 82% turnout for Kimanis.
All right. Well, Hamidin, thank you so much for speaking with us tonight.
Thank you for having me.
All right, we're going to take a quick break and be back with more on Consider This. Don't go anywhere.